Hey,
So great to see you. So
hey.
great to have you
It's
with us. Thank you for being here. Okay, well, we're moving on. Lucas is gonna wrap us up before we break for lunch. So Lucas is the founder of Thriving Dad. His mission is to empower fathers worldwide to step up and shine their light. His concern is not only for them to thrive again. Lucas's intent is for men flourishing to vitalize their own children and communities. Lucas teaches a simple approach to healing and change that has a lasting effect on his clients, spreading into other areas of their life. So thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm so happy to be here, and I loved listening in to Dave. Like he said some really good things. I think there's a lot of value that people can get from this. It's beautiful.
Yes, it's filled. I was like saying, I'm writing notes as you guys are talking. I'm trying not to write too many notes so I can be present, but yes. Awesome. Well, Lucas, tell us a little bit about your background and your journey to this work that you're doing in the world today.
Mhm. Sure. So it all started for me when I got separated, like the mother of my son and me separated. And at first I thought everything's fine, right? Like, yeah, I mean, I was sad, but it didn't really hit me until a few weeks later. And I got really sad, depressed, and numb. And it really hit me, the whole thing of, okay, now this whole family unit that I had, it's not there anymore. And like, there's no way to get it back. And that was like a very harsh reality for me to face. And it took me some time to recover from that, but through that, and also through seeing how it affected my son, because of course I was affected by it, and my son, when he was in contact with me, like he saw that, you know, like Dave said in his story, like the children, they do notice what's going on with you. And yeah, that's really when it hit me, when I saw that, oh, my son, he's also affected by how I'm showing up in this situation, even though it is a very challenging situation, but it doesn't change the fact that the children are affected by what the parents are doing. So my focus is really on helping fathers after a divorce or after a breakup. But I realize that there might be people here who are not in that situation. So what I'm going to talk about today is going to also be useful to them. And it's kind of the foundation of my work. And that has a lot to do with also things that Dave mentioned, things, writing things down and making a specific plan, and specifically in my case with habits. And that is a topic that I delved into, and that was a huge interest of mine. And the question is, how can we make change that lasts? And a lot of people try to change their habits, and they try it with one thing, maybe they try exercising, and it just doesn't stick. And if we want to show up as the best versions of ourselves for our children, then we got to have these things in place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, powerful. And
It's
yeah,
all,
the change
yeah.
you're so right. It's so many of us want to change, and then we beat ourselves up that it's not sticking. So I love that you're gonna support us with that.
And how it interlinks with my speciality is that even when we're in a very challenging situation, it pays off to work on foundational habits that we really need to pay attention to all the time, and that we can pay attention to, but especially when we are in a chaotic situation, like we are experiencing, for example, a divorce, or one of the parents gets laid off, or we have some challenge that kind of shakes the family. It is on us to be stable in our own foundation. And yeah, that's what I want to talk about today.
Awesome.
And I would love to open that with a short gratitude exercise, actually, because that is one of the habits. How do you feel about that?
Love
Like
it.
2-3 minutes, maybe? Yeah.
Sure. Sounds great. Let's do it.
So the exercise is called the Grateful Flow. It's actually by an American psychotherapist, and it's a very simple exercise. So I invite everybody to just settle in where they are right now, and you can close your eyes if you want to, or you can leave them open. Just make yourself comfortable for a few minutes. And as you settle in, I invite you to just notice how your body is feeling right now. Like you've heard a lot of things now, and you've taken in a lot of information, a lot of amazing inspiration for your life. But just notice how you are present right now in this moment in your body. And now we will begin by just bringing up very gently one thing that you're grateful for in your life right now. Maybe that you had the opportunity to be on this call here and hear these amazing speakers speak. Or maybe it's something very tangible, you know, like food or your apartment or like your loved ones, can even be a pet, something that you're grateful for, and just feel it for a few seconds. Just allow that feeling to come up for you. And then just gently move on to the next object of your gratitude. Just let it appear. And if it doesn't appear, just point your mind gently towards it. Something that you can be grateful for right now, and just feel it. You can move quicker if you want to, or stay longer with one object, however you like. I'm just going to give you like a minute or so to keep that up. And allow yourself to feel that gratitude. And now I invite you again to do as if you would be taking up another object of gratitude. Just do the motion, but you don't actually take an object. You just latch on to that feeling of gratitude. And see if you can feel that somewhere in your body or just some sensation, just a feeling of gratitude, and just hold that for a few seconds. And then I invite you to let that go and just get present in your body again, and just notice what's different. Is there something that has changed in your body and how you feel? Have you gotten calmer maybe? Or is there a warmth, or is there some change? Just noticing. And in your own time, I invite you to come back, and once you feel ready, open your eyes again. How was that for you? I'm curious.
Beautiful for me. I was getting, well, I'm so grateful for this day, for today. So it was easy for me to latch onto things. I love doing these events, and so grateful for all of you who said yes to be an expert. But I have this like surge of energy through my body, you know, like it's just like literal tingles, like from my toes. I'm standing. I have to stand when I'm doing this, but yeah, just this really warm wash of like electricity almost, you know. It's beautiful. So, but
That's
calming
beautiful.
at the same time. Yeah. So
Thank you for very welcome. Thank you for sharing that, how it was for you. So it's the research in gratitude is actually really intense. Like there's some stats that even keeping a gratitude journal once a week, it increases our happiness for 25%. And it increases the time we sleep for about half an hour if we do it regularly. And it even increases the amount people exercise. So it's really crazy. It's kind of like it's a very powerful habit that is very simple to do, but a lot of us, we never learn to do it. I mean, some people, they do it before they eat their food. They might do it in a religious context. They might say, oh, thank you, Lord, or whatever their approach is, right? But even people who aren't religious, they can use that. And it is such a powerful resource, and especially for people who are going through a difficult time. Because like you said, it's calming, but it's also energizing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's actually what I want to attempt, is to guide you to, and I mean, you can use it with any habit, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we can do to easier install habits.
Sounds great. Yeah, let's do it.
So the first step is actually when any behavior we want to install or change, like we need some motivation, right? A lot of people are here because they want to be better parents and they want to be really present for their children. And that is an amazing motivation, and that can really get us to act. So always when we change a behavior, we need to have clear the reason why we want to do it. And then, as Dave said, writing it down is a crucial step whenever we make plans, whenever we make the intention to change something, because like he said, we take ownership of the thing we wrote down. And it also, research showed that when we write with our hands, when we do handwritten notes, our brain is much more engaged than when we do touch typing on the computer keyboard. So it's always good to take notes. And so once we have that why, and let's say, for example, we take gratitude as an example. It doesn't have to be gratitude, but I recommend it because it's so powerful and so simple and very easy to install that. And it doesn't take like a minute. Like right now we took a little longer, but if you do it for yourself and if you get into the habit, you can do that very quickly. So once you have the why, there is a behavioral researcher who's called BJ Fogg. He wrote a book that's called Tiny Habits, and he has the ABC of habit change, which is a very simple way to put it. And the A, let's say we want to learn a new habit, implement that, is for anchor. And that means often when we say, oh, I want to do more of this, but it doesn't have any specificity, right? It's like with the plan. If you don't write the plan, if you don't say specifically how you want to change, it's fuzzy. And then you don't actually know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. And then the day is over and you haven't done it, right? So this is really important to be specific. And they also they made research with people who were on drug rehabilitation and they were reintegrated into the job market. And they made research with two groups, and one group, they just told them, oh, please, you write your CV, you write your resume, and you do that. And to the other group, they told them, you write that, but please tell us exactly when you're going to do it. And they found that with the group that had to decide on a specific time frame of when they did it, it went through the roof on the execution of that task because they had committed to a certain time and that made it concrete. And that's one reason why Jim Quick, who's like a memory expert, he always says you need to schedule it in your calendar. If you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen, right? So our way to kind of schedule a habit, which is really simple, which doesn't even require a phone or like a calendar, is using an anchor. And an anchor is an existing behavior that you already do, like brushing your teeth, for example. Like even if we would say, okay, I don't know when I'm going to do this gratitude thing. I do already so many things and I have so much work to do and I have the children and there's just no time. One idea is do it with your children. My son actually likes to do that, and I like to do it when I'm having dinner with him, for example, or when I'm eating with him. That's one idea to do it. Or another is you just do it as you're brushing your teeth. It's just an idea. I mean, you have to find your own way. But the key here is you look for an anchor, and that anchor is your trigger. And you say, every time I brush my teeth, every time I do X, I will engage in the new habit. Mm-hmm. And the new habit from the A, B, C, the B is the behavior. And what he said is, if we try to implement the behavior and the behavior is too big and it's a huge change, then it takes a lot of energy and effort to install that behavior. Mm-hmm. So the issue then is, like, we don't actually do it, and then we don't get into a success loop where we're like, oh, I'm seeing I've done it and I'm going to do it again, and we get motivated and we kind of go into an upward cycle, but we get demotivated. So his solution to that is we make a behavior, we take it and we make it really small, and he says tiny. Mm-hmm. And how he implemented it, for example, he decided, oh, I want to exercise more. That was his thing, right? So he said, okay, my anchor is each time I go to the bathroom, because he's working from a home office. So he said, each time I go to my bathroom, I do, and his behavior, exercise, tiny, I do one push-up. Mm. That was his behavior. The thing is, you don't have to stay with that tiny behavior. You can make it larger later. But what you do is with this tiny behavior, you start to establish the behavior because it's easy to follow through. Then you celebrate and you have this positive feeling that you get, and it kind of writes it into your brain. And then once that thing is there, you can change it. You can make it larger, but it's much easier because you already have a foundation that you're building on, which you built by using that process. Yeah. So a tiny habit in this case, in the gratitude would be you close your eyes and you just think of one thing that you're grateful for, and you feel that just for a few seconds, right? But the thing is with the gratitude, when I have to say a warning, but when you start with it, you tend to do more of it because it just feels so good. And that's one of the things that I do before I sleep in the evening when I lie in bed, because it's very important in the evening time that we don't take stress or anxieties into our sleep, because our subconscious mind will work on what we have thought before we go to sleep. So an amazing practice, and that could be another one. When I go to bed, could be another anchor. Whatever fits for you, there's a million different combinations. But what I like to do is I like to just think of things that I'm grateful for, because that puts my mind in a calm place and I get better sleep that way. And it works, and it's very simple, and it doesn't cost $1. So yeah, so that's the behavior part. I do recommend, however, if you do practice gratitude, it is great, like we talked about, to write it down. So if you have some paper, you can just write down one thing that you're grateful for. I would say a minimum of 3, but if you feel that's difficult to do, you just do one. If you feel writing is difficult, then you just think of one, right? It's better to do something, even if that action is very small, than to do nothing, right? And then the third one is a bit funny. That's the celebration one. So what he found, what BJ Fogg, yeah, what BJ Fogg found out is that people change by feeling good. People don't change by beating themselves up, by feeling guilty, by pushing themselves. That's not how we have sustainable behavior change. So what he defined as celebration is to do the behavior and then to find some way to make yourself feel good, like you did. Like, yeah, like that's the thing. You know, whatever you feel comfortable with. Yeah. Like maybe it's like tapping yourself on the shoulder, and it's like, yeah, like well done, Lucas, or whatever your name is, right? I mean, I personally just smile and I put my hand, my fist kind of on my heart, and I just feel it and I say, that's like me, right? Because I'm somebody who does things that are good for me. Yeah. That's one way I do it. I like to do it, but whatever works for you. And it might feel weird in the beginning, right? To do that, like what? I'm like celebrating myself. And then even for these little things, but what they found out is that people who do that, it creates so many positive emotions that we feel more motivated to do other things as well. Plus it solidifies that behavior that we're celebrating. And why wouldn't we celebrate it when we put our mind in a calm place, and when we build our mental resources so that we can show up and be more present with our children, or do the work on the family, like Dave said, like establishing structure in our family and becoming the dad that we really want to be, showing up for our children, right? Why wouldn't we celebrate when we take a step in that direction, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is we can use that with other things as well. We don't have to use the celebration only for that. And I feel in our culture, in our Western cultures, definitely there's not so much celebration going on sometimes. And I think we can all use a little more of that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's like self-acknowledgement. I don't know if anybody who's in the room right now can resonate, but I had a really unhealthy relationship with self-acknowledgement. Like I thought it was, I was like boasting, or it was too much. So it actually took me, I was one of my breakthroughs when I was going through my transformational journey in one of the trainings that I went through, where I actually connected to that criticism. When people would criticize me, I had no nervous system response, but the minute somebody acknowledged me, I would break down, snot flying everywhere. Like it was just so hard for me to internalize that. And then I realized that I don't do it for myself, so I can't accept it from outside. So I love this piece of celebration, because it is really critical to our transformation, like to stepping into something different. And also, as we do that, like I love how you were saying, like how what your affirmation was with, it's like that's the person I am. It builds our identity in that, and our identity gets to shift. So thank you for sharing that. Like that is, I think, a really important aspect of when we start incorporating these habits, our identity actually evolves into something that we've always wanted. So again, then we're just showing up better for everybody. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. It was very, very good to point that out. I appreciate that. And it reminds me of something, because what you say is that reminds me of when we're trying to improve, sometimes there's the feeling that, oh, I'm not there yet. So that's why I feel it's even more important to celebrate the micro wins and the micro achievements that we make, because they are what actually this success that we're sometimes chasing. That's what we're looking for, and that's actually already, we can already be at our destination the moment we show up at our best. We are already living as the best version of ourselves. Doesn't matter if at that moment we have achieved our financial goals or we have achieved our relationship goals, but when we are showing up as our best in the moment, then we, in a way, we already are at that destination. Yes. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it creates this, it's just downloaded to me. It's easy for us to look for what's wrong. I think that's just like our human condition. It's easy to see what's wrong, what's not working versus what is working. And when we can start to recognize it again, I always say I can't give away what I don't have. So it takes recognition of self before I can recognize anybody else. And I think even as parents, and that certainly has been my default. Again, I was saying to Dave, I always have like this, really screwed things up, you know, in the beginning of my journey as a mom. But I used to focus on what wasn't working. I wouldn't acknowledge what was working. My focus was always, this is, you know, like, why didn't you do this? You know what I mean, right? So again, when we can kind of shift that perspective to celebration, then we start looking for the things that are working and verbalizing that and acknowledging that. And just by default, I know with my own son, the more I speak to, thank you for doing this, and that worked really well. Like, I don't even have to ask. It's just, he does more of it, you know? So it's beautiful on all fronts.
I agree.
Yeah. So well, that is, and I love that you brought back gratitude. I will say, if anybody is skeptical, I started my personal development journey probably 16 years ago now, and gratitude was the first practice I grabbed. It was small enough, but leaps and bounds. If anybody ever asks me, gratitude transformed my life, hands down. And like you said, it does not have to be big. So I would love for you to share, outside of gratitude, what's one other habit that you find really supported you when you were in that low place? You know, like, the family is no longer the unit that it is, you know, now I have this little human that I'm responsible for, and now I have a parent that I get to co-parent with, or whatever that looks like in your situation. Yeah. What's something that really supported you in the mindset space?
Yeah, I'm laughing because one thing that was big for me was cold showers. And I realized, like, a lot of people, they might hate them, but that was really something. When I was feeling really bad, that would always clear my mind. When I was like feeling very depressed in certain days and I just couldn't work or do anything, I would just take a cold shower and it would clear my head. Like, literally. It's very effective when you can do it. And the other one is exercise. I would say exercise is huge. They say exercise is like taking Zoloft and Ritalin, because it, from the effect, it is as powerful. And there's another quote that is, not exercising is like taking a depressant pill. Wow. And I realized these are quite intense things to say, but I must say, as a person who didn't exercise regularly and who is exercising very regularly now for a long time now, that it is having a massive impact, and especially when you don't feel so well. Yeah. And it's good when you can do exercise where you really sweat, or when you can work out, like Dave mentioned, when you go to work your muscles, or if you're a woman, if you do aerobic, or if you do yoga or something. But even just going for a walk, outside, moving your body, even that is going to help. And the same, as I said before, it's good if you can do more, but don't beat yourself up if you can't run like a marathon runner, and if you can't lift weights like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, whatever is appropriate for you, a step for you that is difficult is powerful, or that is challenging you to step into your potential. That is enough. You don't have to compare, oh, what is this person doing, what is that person doing. If you're approaching your potential, even if to another person might say, oh, like, you're just walking, I ran, like, it doesn't matter. If it for you, that it's that step, that's amazing, and that's worthy of celebration. It's all very personal. We're all on our personal journeys.
Yeah.
But yeah, those would be the two, the gratitude. And I actually have like an olive glass, a plastic one, and I wrote little notes, and every day I would put it in, just and I could see that growing, and that really helped me to do that.
Beautiful.
And you can also go back, and if you have a day where you don't feel so well, you can go back and you can take one out and just read it.
Oh, that's
I did that
great.
a couple of
Yeah, that's actually really, really great idea, because there might be a day, depending, right? Like we might have days where we're just so down, it's like almost we want to resist looking for something, but then if we have something to grab onto, it has that power to take you back to that moment, right, of when you wrote it. So that's thank you for sharing. That's powerful exercise as well.
And
well,
very, very playful. It's very playful as well. My son loved it. When you involved children, he really wanted to throw them in there because it's just like just writing something, it's just throwing it in there. It has some like
oh, that's awesome,
some magic to it.
Well, thank you so much, Lucas. And I know that you also have a special gift for our guests today. Would you just let them know what that is, and we'll drop it in the chat for everybody to grab?
Yeah, so the special gift today, it's a document that I wrote. It's called The 10 Themes for Thriving. And it's basically the concept I spoke about now, but in more detail and with more examples of how in our life we can optimize our behaviors. And it's really powerful. I would not underestimate that. And it really works. So I encourage everyone to pick it up. You can just read through it and experiment with it. And yeah, it's amazing, like you said, to get into this journey of discovering ourselves, developing ourselves, and just keeps getting better once you get in there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us, sharing your energy. You're really bright, like your energy really, really comes through. So thank you for closing us off before lunch, and everybody grab your gift. We will also send it with the replays. So I want you to grab it today, share it with your friends, and then those of you who are watching the replay, you have it with the replay. So thank you again, Lucas. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and maybe join us in the afternoon sessions.
Thank you, Kasia. Thank you, everybody.